Welcome to Undercover, where quite an interesting story we will tell you about today. We have Azmarino and Momo, and it's Diafrix. It's good to have you here.
Cheers, thank you for having us.
And quite like I mentioned, a fascinating story. I'll ask you about the refugee thing, obviously, because Momo, you've been here a lot longer.
Yeah.
Haven't you?
Yeah, 23 years.
23 years, hence a bit of an Aussie accent going on there, folks. Which this one over here doesn't quite have yet.
What you talking about, mate? What you talking about?
Well, let's go through Azmarino's, trek, I guess, out of Africa, because you've travelled around, various places around the world before you actually lobbed down to Australia.
Yeah, we did with my family. Basically, we started, I was born in 1982, and I was born in Africa. And after that, it's like trying to find a good country to settle in. Most refugees are looking for a citizenship. People don't understand if you have a citizenship and have a passport, how powerful it is. And if you don't have that, you're basically limited to a lot of things you can't do. And basically my parents, that's what they were doing. So we went to the Middle East, we went to North Africa, went to Italy, Switzerland, then went back home again. And I've started fresh and came to Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heard about this thing called Australian
Couldn't
wait to get over here.
Couldn't wait to get over here, yeah. And basically, and that's how it started. And now I'm a citizen, so everything is good, and that's why it's beautiful, man.
Yeah. And Mama, you've been here since you were 3 years old or whatever.
Arrived in Australia when I was 3, back in the 80s. The father was from Tanzania, met my mother in the Comoros Islands, and we came over here. Came here as a skilled worker, and grew up in Footscray, western suburbs in Melbourne. Back then there was hardly any Africans or anything like that, so I was like, the wild card hanging around. But it was interesting. It was good though.
And Footscray, folks, is where it all began.
Yeah, all began.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yes, definitely.
And that's where the name came from.
Yeah. Well, actually, Azmarino was kicking back in front of a coffee shop in Footscray called
Café d'Afrique.
Café
d'Afrique. It's in French.
Yeah, they spell it with a Q at the end. And we're kicking back thinking of a name for the band, and he flipped it and put an X at the end. Diafrix, as in the Africans. Yeah, and that's how we came up with the name.
Wow, pretty cool name.
That's you don't want to hear the other names that we can.
Come on, no, just one. If you weren't called Diafrix, what would you be?
We haven't meditated them. Nah. What was it? There was so many. There was like the Afro Kangaroo. I can't even say it. I don't even want to. We were young.
Yeah.
We were young. We were very young.
Yeah. Yes, young and a lot sillier back then.
Not silly, yes.
Yeah. Hey, you're a youth worker.
Yeah, I'm a youth worker. That's reason because of hip hop is when I was in high school. I was a very disadvantaged, distracted kids from schools and education and stuff, and because of hip hop, it helped me bring back to reality basically. And after that, start doing workshops, and I start growing passion working with kids and seeing that smile, and everybody keep telling me that I can work with the kids, and the crazy dude with dreadlocks coming in and the kids get excited. And basically step by step I became a youth worker, and I got offered a scholarship from the Victorian College of Arts to study community cultural development while I was still rapping. And a lot of people would tell us not to quit our day job. So I kept doing that while we were doing schools, and just worked from there and developed, and now worked, but more of a youth worker, but at the same time work with communities trying to help them develop. So work with like where there's a lot of disadvantaged kids, where they have a lot of drugs and alcohol, with police crimes and stuff like that, and go there and trying to help them out. And it's usually sometimes just being there and they see an older guy that's been through it and is doing good for himself. It just gives them hope, towards certain positivity.
I would imagine too, being a hip hop artist, a rapper, that they would find that quite attractive too.
They find it really, really quite attractive. But when you come back and introduce them to that hip hop that we got introduced to when we first started, because when you listen to commercial radios and stuff, you only listen to a type of hip hop, as in trying to make them understand that hip hop that talk about more cultural identity and positive, and more make you feel good about yourself, than more demoralize you and talk about bling bling and stuff, and you'd be like, I don't have that. How am I going to afford to that sort of stuff? And then it just feels good, and it helps you go back in the studio and write your own lyrics too. That's what we feel.
It's good inspiration.
Yeah,
working with the kids like that. Yeah.
And when did you two get together?
We met 7 years ago now at a workshop. held by Jolistics from TZU. Came in, like, we just finished high school, didn't know what we were doing. My parents would force me to go study something. I didn't know what I wanted to study. And hit this workshop up, and we met, and it was actually the first day that we met. We wrote a whole song from start to finish, and we'd never written a song prior to this. And we wrote, the verse, the hooks and everything, and arranged it all. And like, the chemistry was there, it was working real well. So ever since then, we've just kept on, chugging along with it.
And we both came from different life as well, as and hip hop helped us actually go through that rough age of adolescence, with drugs, and your friends are up to no good during the weekends. But since we start getting gigs and stuff like that, we start realizing, okay, we got a gig Saturday, Friday, let's not get hammered and really smash, because then Saturday we're not gonna vocally wise. And then step by step, because of the love of hip hop, with the understanding that we were growing to become young professionals with it too. So, and then we started realizing that's a good business. We can't do hobby form anymore. We need to get an ABN. So getting an ABN and getting a business account and getting this. And so step by step, it helped us as well develop as men and help us find guidance to our life. Yeah.
Because it is very much a business, and as you very vastly be working out. But,
it is.
Not so much sitting behind the desk and answering the phones all day, folks. There's a bit of an upside to this business. But that is sort of one of the more serious parts of being a musician in the 21st century, isn't it? That that whole pop star thing has sort of faded away now, and you've actually got to be serious about what you're doing as a career.
Yeah, well, we were like very lucky that we had great people around us, like I was saying before, like Jolistics from TZU, and other people like Multicultural Arts Victoria as well. Nikki Bomba, like other people that we could go to and ask advice, whether it be like a gig or trying to set up or setting off a stage plan to a festival or whatever. Just little tiny things that all count. We've always had people help us out, and grateful for that, and always try to help them out whenever they're doing like mentoring programs or anything like that, and they need more mentors to come in. We always try pitch in there.
Very lucky that we actually grew up within the Melbourne and within the Fitzroy music group,
which is very rich.
Very rich and very helpful towards each other. And it's like a big, huge family.